On this trip, we're exploring the best of Vienna, Austria, from magnificent palaces and world-famous museums to hidden churches, local neighborhoods, markets, parks, and beautiful gardens. Vienna is a city where imperial palaces stand beside vibrant neighborhoods, where Mozart and Strauss still echo through historic concert halls, and where every street seems to tell a story from Europe's grand past. We'll walk through the heart of the former Habsburg Empire, discover where emperors lived, visit places connected to Mozart, enjoy a classical concert, and experience the modern energy of one of Europe's most livable cities. Join us as we explore Vienna, Austria. Our journey begins at St. Stephen's Cathedral, Vienna's most recognizable landmark. Construction began in the 12th century, and its colorful tiled roof has become a symbol of the city itself. Standing beneath the towering south spire, it's easy to imagine centuries of coronations, royal ceremonies, and historic events that have taken place here. The cathedral survived wars, fires, and political upheaval, making it one of Vienna's greatest treasures. The Dominican Church of Vienna surprises visitors with its magnificent Baroque interior. Behind a relatively modest exterior lies one of Vienna's most ornate church interiors, filled with impressive artwork and architectural details. It's one of those hidden gems that many visitors overlook. Peterskirche, or St. Peter's Church, is one of Vienna's most stunning Baroque churches. Its richly decorated interior rivals many famous churches across Europe. The church frequently hosts classical music performances, creating an unforgettable experience where architecture and music come together. Neuer has served as a marketplace for centuries. Today, visitors can admire elegant buildings, a quieter atmosphere compared to some of Vienna's busier squares, and fountains, including Donnerbrunnen, an 18th century fountain featuring multiple allegorical statues. It was created between 1737 and 1739 by sculptor Georg Raphael Donner, and it is considered one of the first major public monuments in Vienna that was designed more for civic beauty than royal or religious display. At the center stands Providentia, the Roman goddess of foresight, symbolizing wise and just governance. Around her are allegorical figures representing rivers of the old Habsburg lands, reflecting prosperity and the natural wealth of the empire. Located beside the Hofburg complex, St. Michael's Church has witnessed generations of emperors, nobles, and citizens passing through its doors. Its medieval origins contrast beautifully with later Baroque additions. St. Michael's Church, or Michaelkirche, is one of Vienna's oldest and most historically important churches. The church dates back to the early 13th century, with construction beginning around 1220. Long before Vienna became the center of the Austro-Hungarian Empire, St. Michael's was already an important place of worship. Over the centuries, Gothic, Romanesque, and Baroque elements were added, creating the unique appearance visitors see today. In 1791, shortly after Mozart's death, a memorial service was held here. While Mozart's actual funeral was modest by modern standards, St. Michael's became one of the places most closely associated with remembrance of the composer. Look closely at the facade and you'll see a dramatic sculptural group depicting Archangel Michael defeating Satan, symbolizing the triumph of good over evil. This powerful image has greeted worshippers and visitors for centuries. The Sisi Museum is one of Vienna's most popular attractions because it tells the story of one of Europe's most fascinating and mysterious royal figures, Empress Elizabeth of Austria, affectionately known as Sisi. Located inside the Hofburg Vienna, the museum combines personal artifacts, historical documents, and the imperial apartments to reveal the real woman behind the romantic legend. Elizabeth was born in 1837 into the Bavarian royal family. At just 16 years old, she unexpectedly captured the heart of Franz Joseph I of Austria, Emperor of Austria. The original plan was for Franz Joseph to marry Elizabeth's older sister, but after meeting Elizabeth, he insisted on marrying her instead. The young Duchess suddenly found herself Empress of one of Europe's most powerful empires. Sisi became famous throughout Europe for her extraordinary beauty. Her hair reached nearly to her ankles and required hours of care every day. She followed strict beauty routines, exercised obsessively, and maintained a very slim figure, which was unusual for royalty of the time. Portraits of the young empress were widely circulated, making her one of the first true international celebrities. Despite her fame, Sisi disliked life at the Viennese court. The Hofburg was governed by rigid rules and constant public appearances. She felt trapped by the expectations placed upon her and often escaped Vienna for long periods. She spent much of her life traveling through Hungary, Greece, England, Ireland, and Switzerland. Her extensive travels were highly unusual for an empress. One reason Sisi remains beloved today is her support for Hungary. She learned the Hungarian language and formed close relationships with Hungarian nobles. Many historians believed her influence helped her bring about the 1867 Austro-Hungarian Compromise, which transformed the Austrian Empire into the Austro-Hungarian Empire. As a result, she became Queen of Hungary in addition to being Empress of Austria. Behind the glamorous image was a life marked by sadness. She lost her first daughter as a child and later suffered a devastating blow when her son, Crown Prince Rudolf, died in the 1889 Mayerling incident. After Rudolf's death, Sisi wore black for much of the rest of her life and became increasingly withdrawn. In 1898, while traveling to Geneva, Switzerland, Sisi was attacked by an Italian anarchist named Luigi Lucchini. He stabbed her with a sharpened file. Initially, she thought she had only been struck and continued walking. Only later did it become clear that the wound had pierced her heart. She died shortly afterward at age 60. Her assassination shocked Europe. The section of the Hofburg that contains the Neuburg and the House of Austrian history tells a fascinating story because it represents both the peak of Habsburg ambition and the birth of modern Austria. Neuburg means new castle or new palace. By the late 1800s, Emperor Franz Joseph I of Austria wanted the Hofburg expanded into an enormous imperial forum that would rival the grand palace complexes of Paris, London, and Berlin. Construction began in 1881 and continued for decades. Ironically, while the Habsburgs were building one of the largest and most impressive palace wings in Europe, their empire was beginning to face growing political tensions and nationalist movements. When World War I ended in 1918, the Austro-Hungarian Empire collapsed. The Neuburg was essentially completed just as the empire it was meant to celebrate disappeared. This makes it one of Europe's great architectural ironies, a monument to imperial power finished at the moment that power ceased to exist. Mozarthaus is the only surviving Vienna residence where Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart lived. Here, visitors can learn about his life, compositions, and the extraordinary musical legacy that continues to shape Vienna's identity. No trip to Vienna is complete without experiencing classical music. Attending a Wiener Ensemble concert allows us to hear the music of Mozart, Strauss, Beethoven, and other masters in the city that helped define classical music itself. Let's talk about Vienna history. Before World War I, Vienna was the capital of the Austro-Hungarian Empire, one of the largest and most influential empires in Europe. The city served as the political, cultural, and artistic center of a realm stretching across much of Central and Eastern Europe. During this period, Vienna became famous for music, architecture, science, and diplomacy. Following the 1920 Treaty of Trianon and the breakup of the Austro-Hungarian Empire after World War I, Austria became a much smaller nation. Vienna suddenly found itself as the capital of a relatively small republic rather than a vast empire. Despite the economic and political challenges that followed, Vienna remained an important cultural center. After World War II in 1945, Austria was occupied by Allied forces, and Vienna was divided into sectors, much like Berlin. The city suffered wartime damage but gradually rebuilt. Austria regained full sovereignty in 1955 and adopted neutrality, helping Vienna become a major center for diplomacy and international organizations. After the collapse of the Soviet Union and the Iron Curtain in 1989, Vienna once again became a gateway between Western and Eastern Europe. Its location placed it at the crossroads of a newly connected continent, leading to economic growth and renewed international importance. Today, Vienna has a population of about 2 million people. While it's smaller than capitals such as London, Paris, Berlin, Madrid, Tokyo, or Washington, D.C.'s metropolitan area, Vienna remains one of the world's most influential cultural capitals and is frequently ranked among the most livable cities on earth. Schönbrunn Palace is Austria's most famous palace and one of the finest examples of Baroque architecture in Europe. For nearly 200 years, it served as a summer residence of the Habsburg dynasty, the family that ruled Austria and much of Central Europe. The site was originally a hunting lodge owned by the Habsburgs in the 1500s. The palace we see today is largely the result of Maria Theresa, who transformed Schönbrunn into the magnificent summer residence of the imperial family during the 18th century. Maria Theresa had 16 children, including Marie Antoinette, and Schönbrunn became the center of court life, diplomacy, celebrations, and royal family activities. Perched atop a hill overlooking the palace grounds, the Gloriette provides one of Vienna's most spectacular views. It's the perfect place to appreciate the scale and beauty of Schönbrunn. Built in 1775, the Gloriette was commissioned by Maria Theresa as a monument celebrating Habsburg power and Austria's military achievements. From a distance, it looks almost like a triumphal arch crowned by a massive imperial eagle. The fair spring fountain was built in the 18th century during the reign of Maria Theresa as part of the grand redesign of the palace grounds. At its center stands a statue of a nymph holding a vessel from which water flows, symbolizing the natural spring that inspired the palace's name. The Roman ruins at Schönbrunn is not really ruins from Roman times and is not thousands of years old. It's an 18th century carefully crafted piece of landscape architecture made to look like Roman ruins. The palace contains more than 1,400 rooms, although visitors typically see only about 20 to 40 rooms depending on the tour. These rooms tell the story of the Habsburg dynasty from Maria Theresa to Franz Joseph and Sisi. The Great Gallery is one of the palace's most spectacular rooms, stretching nearly 140 feet, or 40 meters. It was used for imperial banquets, court balls, receptions, and diplomatic events. The glittering chandeliers, gilded decorations, and ceiling frescoes are designed to impress foreign ambassadors and visiting royalty. This is the room where Maria Theresa hosted some of the most important events of the 18th century. One of the palace's most famous rooms is the Hall of Mirrors. According to tradition, 6-year-old Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart performed for Empress Maria Theresa in this room in 1762. The mirrors and elegant decor create a surprisingly intimate atmosphere compared to the grand ceremonial halls. Upper Belvedere is one of Vienna's most beautiful landmarks and one of the world's great art museums. While many visitors come to see the Kiss, the building itself has an incredible story that begins long before it became a museum. The Belvedere complex was commissioned by Prince Eugene of Savoy, one of Europe's most successful military leaders. Prince Eugene played a major role in defending the Habsburg Empire against the Ottoman Empire and became one of the wealthiest and most influential men in Austria. Between 1717 and 1723, he built the Belvedere as a summer residence on the edge of Vienna. The complex consists of the lower Belvedere, his living quarters, the formal gardens, and the upper Belvedere, the grand ceremonial palace. The upper Belvedere was never intended as a residence. It was built primarily for entertaining guests and displaying power, wealth, and prestige. Outside, the formal Belvedere Schlossgarten connects the upper and lower Belvedere. The fountains, sculptures, terraces, and geometric landscaping create one of the finest Baroque garden designs in Europe. Many visitors consider the view from the upper Belvedere looking down across the gardens towards Vienna's historic district to be one of the best in the city. The lower Belvedere is the older and more personal half of the Belvedere complex. While the upper Belvedere was designed for grand ceremonies and entertaining guests, the lower Belvedere was where Prince Eugene of Savoy actually lived. The monument in honor of the soldiers of the Soviet Army is located at Schönbrunn Palace in central Vienna. It was unveiled in 1945, just months after the end of World War II, to commemorate the Red Army soldiers who died during the liberation of Vienna from Nazi control in 1945. The monument features a large Soviet soldier standing in ceremonial pose, holding a rifle with a gold helmet and marble columns forming a grand backdrop. The inscription honors the Soviet troops who took part in the battle for Vienna and marks the city's liberation at the end of the war in Europe. The Vienna State Opera is one of the world's most prestigious opera venues. Its rich history and reputation for excellence make it a symbol of Vienna's enduring connection to music and the performing arts. Karlsplatz serves as one of Vienna's major public spaces. The magnificent Karlskirche, or St. Charles Church, dominates the square, while modern cultural institutions create a fascinating blend of old and new. Naschmarkt is Vienna's most famous market. Stalls overflow with fresh produce, international foods, spices, cheeses, and local specialties. It's one of the best places to experience Vienna's cultural diversity. Naschmarkt dates back to at least the 16th century, when it began as a small dairy market outside of the old city walls. Originally, it mainly sold milk bottles with wooden caps instead of modern packaging, which is why it was once named the Ashen Market, or Ash Market, later evolving into Naschmarkt. By the early 1900s, it became a structured city market with permanent stalls, and it's continued evolving ever since into a vibrant food hub you see today. The name comes from the German word naschen, meaning to snack or nibble, which fits perfectly because the market is all about tasting, sampling, and enjoying food as you walk. The Triumphwagen des Marc Anton is a remarkable historic artifact showcasing the artistic and ceremonial traditions of Europe's aristocratic past and reflects Vienna's role as a center of imperial culture. We finish our sightseeing at the Albertina, home to one of the world's most important graphic art collections. From Monet and Picasso to modern exhibitions, the museum beautifully connects Vienna's imperial heritage with contemporary culture. Our journey through Vienna has taken us from imperial palaces and grand museums to charming neighborhoods, vibrant markets, and unforgettable musical experiences. Today, Vienna welcomes approximately 17 to 18 million overnight visitors each year, making it one of Europe's most popular city destinations. The best time to visit are April through June and September through October, when temperatures are comfortable and crowds are generally more manageable. December is also magical thanks to Vienna's famous Christmas markets, festive lights, and seasonal atmosphere. Whether you're fascinated by history, inspired by art, captivated by music, or simply looking for one of Europe's most beautiful cities, Vienna offers an unforgettable experience. If you enjoyed this journey, please like, subscribe, and share the video. Thank you for joining us on our Vienna adventure. We'll see you in our next video where we explore another amazing city.